Good evening. Welcome to the fourth installment of the Highland Park Update. My name is Matthew Hirsch. I chair the borough's Public Information Committee, and this program is brought to you by the Public Information Committee and Highland Park Television, thanks to Gary Leslie, who chairs the Highland Park Cable TV Committee. Tonight's guest, we're very honored to have Councilman Gary Potts, who has served in his role as councilman since 2012. Councilman Potts, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Just to go over some of you have a broad portfolio in the borough. Currently you serve as the council chair for Recreation and Arts. You chair the Celebrations and Public Events Committee, which includes the fireworks and the parades, I should note. You're a liaison on the Council on Aging, liaison to the Middlesex County Cultural and Heritage Commission. You're the liaison to the Middlesex County Transportation Commission, and you're the council liaison to the Rec Department. So, just kind of going through that, it's clear that you have a very broad perspective over the borough's programming, and particularly of a wide variety of ages of borough residents. So you seem to have a very unique perspective over how borough government is involved in helping to improve quality of life in Highland Park. How do you gauge the efficacy of these programs as far as even getting feedback, and then how do you assess them over the long term?
I think really the best feedback is the residents giving us feedback. It's always helpful. Some of our programs that we offer, especially with like the youth theater program, which was just started over the last couple years, that was really by suggestions of residents. So we try to take that information or those suggestions from residents about new programs, things like chess clubs and things like that have been added over the years. Those have usually been brought on by people's requests to look into offering some of these additional programs. The youth theater program has been really a fantastic program. I've attended actually a couple of their productions, and they were really well attended by our residents, a lot of the participants and their families, of course. But it's really a great program, and then that kind of gives you a basis to feed into the high schools and some of the other schools, so that the theater programs, the kids have had a chance to kind of get started already at a young age. So it's really worked out well. But I think the residents' input is really important to the success of our programs and wanting to try to see new programs and things like that. It's really important for residents to speak up and come to us in the borough and let us know if there's some new programs that they might want to give it a try, or see if we can look into getting it started. So I think that's really one of the best ways to let your voice be heard.
Yeah, no, so I mean, if somebody has an idea, and for the people watching at home, if somebody has an idea that they think would be successful in the borough, how do they go about getting that moving?
To go directly to, if it's aging related or seniors related, to speak to our aging director, Kim Perkins, or in the case of recreation, Andrea Bay, to let them know. That's what most people have done, is speak that directly to them. I mean, if someone wants to contact me, I'm fine with that, and then me leading that into the proper department. But a lot of times it's best to go right to the source of the department that heads up that particular activity. If it's something for seniors to do, or whether it's something more for youth.
That's great. And the department is responsive too. I mean, they are.
Yeah. No, we have excellent staff here in Highland Park who've really done a great job. It's made our job easier as council people that we have such good staff working here in Highland Park, and particularly in the aging and the rec department. We've been very fortunate to have excellent staff that have done a great job.
That's great. We'll get back to Highland Park seniors, but I wanted to just touch on the Highland Park youth. And one of the most important activities that the town provides in Highland Park is the Borough Summer Camp program.
Right.
In the past few months during council reports, you've reported an increase, 18% increase, I believe, of enrollment into the summer camp since from last year. That's an incredible increase.
Yeah.
I guess what what is the cause for that increase? I mean, obviously, it's the success of the program, and a lot of people are now really starting to learn about it and knowing it's a viable option. But to what can you attribute that success?
Then it's another place where word of mouth, it's gotten out. We have an excellent summer camp program. For many families, it's more cost effective. From a budget point of view, it's less expensive than some of the other alternatives. So I think between that and the quality of the program, the kids in the summer camp program really have a lot of different activities. The rec department's really tried to offer a lot of different options and variety of things for the kids to do. So it's become really popular, I think, based on the fact that there's so much variety and at an effective cost to the families. I mean, nothing's ever cheap, and nothing's ever as little as we'd like it to be. But we've tried to keep a mindful watch on the cost of the programs and things like that. And I think it's really, it's kind of like it feeds on itself almost. This, we've seen slight increases over some years, but this was the biggest, and I just think it's due partially to word of mouth, or in a great extent, it's word of mouth and getting that information out there to the residents.
As you plan for success and as you anticipate success, how do you, how does, for example, the Recreation Department address those types of increases in enrollment?
I mean, if it was to continue, I don't know that it would continue at the same rate it did this year, but if it continues, obviously, hopefully, it'll become more increasingly more popular, as well as the fact that we have a larger population anticipated here in Highland Park based on the new construction that's taking place throughout the borough. So you would like to think that your market, so to speak, or the number of kids that would be looking for some type of camp is going to grow, or you'd like to think that that's what's going to happen as part of some of this growth that we're seeing. It's going to mean an increased demand on staffing. Highland Park is, I don't know how unique we are compared to some other towns, but by employing our own, some of these kids that are the camp counselors actually were in our camp program.
Right.
I can speak from my own experience. My kids went to the Highland Park camp just like yours went this past summer, and then they went on to be counselors.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's kind of like a big circle, as far as for some of the kids, they were campers and then they become counselors. Obviously, if the camp would continue to grow even at any type of rate, they're going to have to look at hiring more counselors and doing the budgeting and things like that. But it's been one of the things that the residents may not be aware of is that our rec department and our aging department really are run through, it's kind of like a trust fund, and therefore the activities that these departments offer are not really being paid through the taxpayer money.
Okay.
So it's more like for user fees, for lack of better words.
I see. Okay.
So, someone who's a senior in town isn't paying for Highland Park to offer a chess club.
Okay.
The people who want to play chess pay a fee to belong to the chess club, or take some lessons with tennis or things like that we might offer, or soccer and things like that. So it's user fee based.
Moving into the fall, it's getting cool out finally, and the leaves are starting to change. And you have reported recently at council meetings that fall activities are getting underway too at the Recreation Department. That includes fall sports. Maybe just offer a little bit of an overview of what types of activities the rec department's offering for youth this fall.
There's always a lot of participation in soccer. That's that's the big, that's probably the biggest sport for the fall sports. That's the main one. But there's always all these other clubs like the chess club and track and and cross country and things like that. So there's other activities as well. Soccer is probably the big one in the fall.
That's excellent. We talk about aging in place in Highland Park. It's a place where people like to live as long as they can and be able to walk and have in-town amenities. And we hear it all the time, at council meetings. The borough does a good job providing activities and amenities for seniors, and that's a main objective of the borough, and is a purview of yours on council. what does the borough do to get seniors involved, whether it's at the senior center or just to keep them active? Tell me a little bit about the programs that are out there.
Okay. In addition to some of the big events, I know the big one that always comes up every June is the senior prom, and that's just a one-night event, but it's a very special night, and the seniors really look forward to it. But on an ongoing basis, there's all types of there's exercise classes that there are available for seniors. They have movies that they play at the senior center in the afternoon. They have luncheons usually once a month. Again, there's these are excellent turnouts, especially for the luncheons. Right. Sometimes we're able to get sponsors to help defray some of the cost of those luncheons, because they do add up as far as expense. Up until now, we haven't, up until this point, we haven't had to, the seniors actually are offered these monthly luncheons at no cost. I can't say for sure that it'll always be that way. You never know going forward. But at this point, they're still free, these luncheons that they have. We have special Thanksgiving dinners at Christmas time. It's more of a special events, but we have the Christmas Day dinner that's offered at the Senior Youth Center we usually have a visit by Santa Claus and all those different things. So there's just a lot going on. I know that kind of gets away from the seniors, though. For some of the seniors, that's who might have either lacking in family or their family lives at a distance, it winds up being another event for them, almost like if it was a senior luncheon, except they're in a mixed, age group, really.
Obviously, one of the things that's important to seniors is the ability to be mobile and to be able to get around. Sure. Highland Park does provide transportation services for seniors. Tell me a little bit about what's available.
Yeah, for our seniors in Highland Park, if they contact the Senior Youth Center, and we provide actually rides to doctors and things of that nature. And just general busing within Highland Park as well. They do go out of town for doctors as well. So again, it's just something that usually has to be coordinated. They have like an appointment schedule or whatever, and they keep track of people's appointments that they need to be taken to. So we do offer that. Again, there's no, that's not tied in with any fees. So if a senior needs to get to a doctor's appointment or whatever, say over in New Brunswick, they would just contact the Senior Youth Center to try to arrange that ride reservation, so to speak.
That's terrific. So they just call they just call Andrea Bay at the Senior Center,
or Kim Perkins, yeah, and then either they or the staff that are at the Senior Youth Center would be able to arrange for that person's rides. And they actually have a part-time driver that transports, and they even do bus stops for like Stop and Shop and things like that for grocery shopping.
So, Councilman Potts, you are a business owner here in town. Tell me a little bit about your just background in Highland Park. How long have you lived here, and how long have you had your business? And maybe then we can talk a little bit about what you do.
My wife and 2 children and I moved to Highland Park in June of 1995. So this past June, we were here 20 years. My wife actually passed away in January of 2011. Like I said, we were here, I was here with my 2 kids for 20 years as of this past June. We came to Highland Park, we actually lived in South Jersey, in a little town called Chesterfield, which most people have not heard of, but it's down by McGuire Air Force Base and Bordentown area, so it's not terribly far. But it was an adjustment coming to Highland Park in some respects, but in a lot of respects, a very easy adjustment, because we went from an area where, for instance, going to get a gallon of milk would have been a 2-mile drive down where we used to live. And in Highland Park, I could walk about 2 blocks and get to the Park Deli or any other, convenience store that's close by. So that was a really neat thing. Of course, having Dunkin' Donuts as close as it is to the funeral home's a nice thing too. Patronize their location a lot. But it was, we liked the idea, the walking community, the school's reputation and things, because we had young children at the time. And so those were some of the attractions. we were able to kind of make connections with an older couple, Jim and Eileen Kuhn, who were the owners of the funeral home at the time. They had raised their 3 daughters here in Highland Park, none of which of them were interested in getting their license and becoming funeral directors. So their parents were looking, Jim and Eileen were looking to retire, and we just kind of happened to make the right connection, and it was a great marriage, so to speak, in the fact that the former owners retired, but they still came back and helped us, you know, in the transition of the funeral business from one owner to another. And people get kind of funny about that sometimes because it's kind of like going to a doctor or dentist. They get used to a certain person handling that situation at a time, which is very sensitive and a very emotional time. And when somebody else comes new into town, there was a little resistance. I can't say that there wasn't some resistance to Gary's the new guy on the block, you know, because people would say, "Oh, where's Jimmy?" Because they got so used to meeting Jim Kuhn when they came to the place. So there was some transition, and the Kuhns were excellent with helping us make that transition go much more smoothly. I've seen quite a bit of change in our industry or our business over the years. Our whole industry has, in the funeral industry, as far as people's changing customs sometimes or their wishes. People have gotten very much into personalization and memorialization more than they probably did when I first started in the business back in 1982.
Wow.
And I've seen even the change in the 20 years we've owned the funeral home. So I think the success of Highland Park business in the downtown will probably be adapting to our ever-changing demographics. Because with the new construction that we have coming into Highland Park, with the new housing, I think our demographics are going to even change more. We already have a diverse population, but I think there could be even some more greater numbers of some of the diversity, and I think the businesses are going to need to adapt to that, you know, to be successful down the road.
Maybe talk a little. Tell me a little bit about just your 20 years in Highland Park, your involvement, how you got involved civically, and really how you arrived at this point, serving on council.
Okay. Serving on council was something that I had given some thought to, but maybe not as much as I obviously did after my wife passed away. After you've been married for 22 years, you're very used to that routine of marriage and being married. And so for me, I felt a major void in a lot of different ways. And one of the things that I thought about was maybe it's time to actually, go out of your comfort zone, so to speak. I'm very much a creature of habit sometimes in a lot of things. People who know me well would definitely agree on that. And so therefore, it was almost like stepping out of the comfort zone and saying, this is something you've thought about and you've just stayed in the background. And now life's changed for you and it's time to step out of that box and try something different. And so that's kind of how I stepped forward into being involved with council.
I would imagine that because you have a prominent business in town, and you had mentioned that people knew the business and then got to know you. Right. That you had there probably was a fairly good transition into from having a public type of business and knowing just a lot of people in town.
Yeah, it was kind of an easy sliding over into that position. Other than obviously one's private sector as opposed to the public sector of being involved with Borough Council, but there's a lot of crossover.
What are some of the what are three of the best things about public service for you during your term?
Three of the best things. I haven't really given that. I would say, there's a great personal satisfaction out of knowing that hopefully you're contributing to the better livelihood of people. In the case of the areas that I oversee, such as recreation and the seniors in particular, you like to think that you're involved or overseeing programs that really make a difference hopefully in people's lives and improve the quality of their life. It's been a great experience to learn basically the government process. It wasn't something that I had a lot of past experience in, obviously. So it's been a good, well-rounding aspect for me to have been involved and see the process. I've learned a lot really from that. I don't know if I have really any. I don't know if I necessarily have a third item, but it's been a great experience. The time's going by quite fast. In the beginning of it, there's always the learning curve, I guess you'd say, of learning the processes that go on within Borough Council and then government. So there was always the learning curve, like there is for anything. But when you get through that and you learn what's supposed to be, the right protocols and things like that, it becomes much more easy, I guess you'd say, to move into the position.
You mentioned that you're a creature of habit, but it seems like you're in the mood to try new things. So what's next for Gary Potts?
One of the things that most people probably don't know about me is that one of the things that took place a few years ago, our mortuary board of funeral service changed some of the rules and regulations as to our licensure. And one of the things that they required was continuing education as part of CEUs, as part of getting our license renewed. And then the state board went on to take it one step further, and they started requiring courses in certain topics. So it wasn't enough just to get CEUs, all of a sudden they had to be in certain topics. I was fortunate enough a couple years ago to actually be asked to be a continuing education presenter for our funeral directors in New Jersey for licensure renewal. And then I've been doing that for a few years. And then more recently, I've been approached through that process, been approached about doing some adjunct faculty work down at Mercer County College, which is where I went to funeral service school. So I look forward to, in the spring of next year, of actually, it's only going to be one course per se, at least to get started, because with owning a business, you can't be off doing a lot of other things. But I just kind of considered it a diversity, an honor that the school that I had graduated from back in 1982 with my funeral service degree, that they had asked me to come back as an adjunct. So it was just kind of an exciting experience that came up. I don't have a lot of other things that I'm in the works, so to speak, that I know of. But it's I do like to keep a lot of variety, and keep involved with new things. And a lot of people have said you never know where life's going to take you, or what doors are going to open. And as one door closes, another one opens, and chapter ends, another one begins. And so I don't know for sure, but I am excited about this education opportunity. Again, it's going to be on a very part-time basis.
Well, part-time or otherwise, Professor Potts, I like the sound of Professor Potts. That's has a nice ring to it. Obviously, Mercer County College is a fine school in New Jersey's excellent community college circuit. That is all I have. I really appreciate your time. It's been really nice. It's been really nice to have you. And that concludes another episode of the Highland Park Update. And you can always catch us on Cablevision Channel 15 or FiOS Channel 44. And you can also go to www.facebook.com/HP Borough. Which is the borough's Facebook page, where this program and other Highland Park television programs will be linked to. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.